You're listening to The Secret Life of Entrepreneurs on 91.3 FM, CJTR, Regina Community Radio. I'd like to welcome Nikki Jacquin to the show now, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her business, Nikki's Portraits of Childhood. And one of the things that she already shared with me was her business has evolved to be so much more than just portraits of childhood. So first off, welcome, Nikki.
Well, thanks, Barb, for having me. I really appreciate this.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to our conversation today. So let's talk a little bit more about how your business has changed and evolved. You must have started specifically working on portraits of childhood, and that has changed. So tell us about that.
Well, I paint all family members, whatever their age, but then things evolved into art classes. And one particular art class I was teaching was a cafe sketchbook tour class where we'd go to different coffee houses. And the students at the end of the class said, "This was so much fun. We should do this in France. You should do this in France." And that evolved into my international painting holidays. So I've taken 2 groups to France, 2 to Cuba. And my 4th one to Cypress Hills, hopefully, will be set to go this summer in July. And then after that, I had a company from Montreal approach me about producing my artwork on my clothing, on their clothing.
Okay. So tell me about that. That's very interesting to me. You're taking groups to France and Cuba. So what would a group do?
Well, I think it's important for us to connect and to have my students not only connect with the other artists in our group, but also with the artists in the country we're going to. So in Cuba, for example, we visit, each time we go, we visit Judith Fidel Faith, and she's one of Cuba's international artists. So she's just wonderful. We see her studio, she closes it up, takes just my group through to see her studio in her home, which is all in one building. And then we sit up on her 3rd floor open air patio that overlooks, you can see the Caribbean Ocean, the Escambray Mountains, and she just sits and talks with us about what it is to live as an artist.
Whereabouts in Cuba is she?
She's in Trinidad.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit about your business locally. What sort of classes do you teach? Who are your students? And how would someone, register to take a class with you?
Well, currently I was teaching at the Neil Balkwell only, and then some private lessons. So people can reach me through my website, nickysportraits.com.
Okay.
And then if they subscribe to my newsletter by clicking the QR button, they'll be automatically notified about upcoming classes. But the Neil Balkwell is closed right now, so I'm trying to take the classes online through, I tried Zoom, and I think I've settled on using Facebook Live now.
Okay, yeah. And Facebook's Live is kind of neat because you can you can share your screen. And you can, show the students a lot of the work that you're doing, I suppose, then, right?
Right, and it allows them to replay the video as well, and pause it when they need to. So I think that'll be a benefit for them.
Yeah, because you can go back and you can watch again and things like that. Yep, that makes perfect sense. What kind of artwork are you doing? I've seen samples of your work, so I know there's some really intricate detail, but what if someone was going to register for a class, what kind of class could they expect?
Well, right now I'm doing beginner drawing from 5-year-olds on up to adult.
Okay.
The adult class is how to draw pets, and then I also have a step-by-step acrylic class.
Okay.
It's going to be starting up.
Tell me about your kids classes. I know kids are out of school right now. Tell me about kids classes and what they could register for.
Well, I have occasional free ones coming up. And so if they subscribe again, they'll know when those are happening, and I'll send them information and links on how to access those videos.
Okay.
And then the low cost ones are $5. And recently I had a group from, I forget which little town it was, but there were 6 of them, all different ages, crowded around one cell phone that their mom was using. And I said, "Do you have a laptop or a computer?" So it was a fun time with them.
That's a fantastic idea. One of the things I have seen recently is, I'm going to say a sketch artist is doing like a doodle class for kids online right now. And I keep meaning to log into that. My son is getting quite interested in drawing, and he's taken a binder, and it's just pencil drawings, but some of it is really good, Nikki. And so we're trying to encourage it. So I'll have to go and subscribe to your website after we're done today, because I think
Be
he would
great.
enjoy sitting down and doing a class and learning a little bit. It's neat to watch, especially with kids, how their interests evolve. So they go from, sports to music, back to something else, to drawing, like all over as they find their groove, right?
Right.
So how did you find your groove? At what point in your life did you wake up and go, I'm going to be an artist. I'm going to run an art business. I'm going to run 3 different Facebook pages because I don't want to sleep.
You know me. Well, it started early. I remember I wanted to be an astronaut first because I grew up when the astronauts were landing on the moon. And then later on, I started getting up early with my dad. And before he'd go off to work, I'd sketch the squirrels on the peanut butter jar. And my parents always just made materials available to encourage me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought maybe an architect, so I was taking all the science and drafting. Obviously, I had no imagination. I just started at the letter A and never got to B.
That's cute. That's really cute. And I imagine your mom's kitchen sort of permanently covered in newspaper, because I know every time the paint or the really like thick markers come out, I'm like, where's the paper? We've got to get paper out.
She never did that.
No.
I don't recall us covering the table. Maybe we did. I don't recall that.
And honestly, the irony of it is, so my mom always, had the news. Anytime I like touched a craft supply, there was this big to do about preparation. And so that's where I kind of get the behavior from. But the irony is all of our countertops are granite. And so even if they did, paint through, it's going to wipe right off. But it's that immediate panic as a parent. It's like, oh, get the drop sheet out, get everything ready.
Yeah, with kids, usually we use removable materials, not non-permanent.
Exactly.
You can clean them up within a half hour at least.
Yeah. I remember one time when the kids were little, we were letting them, I'll say finger paint, but in all honesty, it was body paint. And so we took this great big sheet of paper that was probably 5 feet wide and ran it down the length of the table. The kids were in nothing but their diapers. And then we put pots of paint out, and literally like they were covered head to toe in paint by the time they were done. And I have pictures because my son had 1 foot that was completely pink and 1 foot that was completely blue, but they were the neon colors. So you know how long those take to kind of wear off, right? And I was like, okay, whatever. Fun. You got to go with it.
That sounds like fun.
It was tons of fun. So tell me a little bit about you. Like what drives you to keep going? We've of course, gone through some tough times lately. So what keeps you going? Where's your spark coming from, Nikki?
Well, my hope comes from my faith in Jesus, first of all. So I do believe we're gonna any challenge that presents itself to me, I look to him for hope. Mm-hmm. And I'm a little bit like a mouse in a maze. I'm like, and I do look for direction, so that I'm not hopefully wasting my time. Yeah.
Well, and it's so true that as a small business owner, you're constantly bumping into obstacles. So to feel like, oh, this is an obstacle I can't overcome, that's not necessarily true, right? There's always a way to, there's always an option. There's always another path. There's so many different ways to solve a problem. And, we're all used to open my doors, teach in-person classes, sell my product in my store. And, sometimes you just can't do that. And so you have to be prepared to find option B or find option C or sometimes even D. But, it's that determination as a small business owner, right? What about your art itself? What inspires you for your art itself?
Well, it was children for a long time when my kids were small, and now I'm a grandmother, so kind of going back to painting children, and always have accepted commissions along the way. But as I'm teaching, the subject or theme of the class sometimes directs me in the direction that I'm going. But personally, my pet project right now is painting prominent Saskatchewan female artists over 65 and what it's like for them in this phase of their life. And I'm using the drafting and architecture theme as a symbolic means to describe the core value that they represented when I interviewed them in their studio.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. That would be a fascinating project.
I'm really enjoying it, and it's connected me to some fantastic artists that are such a great blueprint of, for younger artists in the province.
Exactly. Good for you. Nikki, believe it or not, we only have about a minute or two left in the show today. So can I get you to share your website and your social channels with our audience today, and maybe spell out your name, because I know that you do have 2 Ks in your name, so make sure everybody gets it right.
So my website is nikkisportraits.com, nikkisportraits.com. And then on Facebook, if you search Nikki's Portraits of Childhood, or Portraits of Childhood and then Nikki's, why I did that, I don't know. And then Painting Tours is the page that kind of covers my art-inspired limited edition fashions.
Okay.
And Instagram is just Nikki's Portraits. Okay. Twitter, Nikki's Portraits, and Pinterest as well. I don't do so much on Pinterest. Every now and then I show up there.
Yep.
What else do I have? Instagram, did I say, is also Nikki's Portraits.
You mentioned Instagram, yes.
And then LinkedIn, I'm on there with my business name as well.
Okay. Wow. So you've got some really good coverage. Okay. And one of the things that I always try and do is share those links with all of our audience. So that will be posted online a little bit later as well.
Well, thank you, Barb.
I am going to wrap up our show today. Nikki, I'll get you to just hold on for 2 seconds while we do our wrap up. And my pages are out of order. So thank you very much to everyone who has joined us online today. We will be back shortly with our next episode of The Secret Life of Entrepreneurs on 91.3 FM CJTR, Regina Community Radio. Thanks very much for listening. We'll see you soon.